I sat at the bus stop in New York City, regretting taking extra hours on at work. It was dark out, past midnight, and the streetlight above me was the only one working on the whole street. My only distraction from the dark outside my pool of light was the noise of the crickets chirping. Jessica always liked crickets, I thought to myself. She always said that they were the serenaders of the night. It didn't take me much to think of my wife these days. That was the problem. You see, I hadn't seen her in over 3 months. We had gone on a hiking trip in an old forest in upstate New York. You have to hike to get to the good spots, and that's just what we did. 8 miles in, we finally made it to the mountain lake and threw off our heavy packs, ready for a hearty dinner and for bed. My attempts to catch fish for dinner were unsuccessful. I remember Jessica laughed at me for thinking I could actually catch a fish so late in the day, with the sun going down. We'd made do with our dehydrated beef stew, set up our tent, and immediately fell asleep due to the exertion of the hike. How I wish I would have stayed awake that night. It was pitch black when I was roused from my sleep. I didn't have to pee or anything, so I had wondered what had woken me up. I noticed I couldn't hear Jessica's breathing next to me. She must have had to go then, and the tent zipper had woken me up. I heard the wind rustle through the trees and the crunching of her footsteps on branches. From what I heard, she was walking a ways from the tent. The strange thing was, I couldn't see the light of a flashlight through the canvas. How was she supposed to find her way back to the tent without a light in this pitch blackness? A few minutes had passed. I zipped open the tent door and called out to her jokingly. "You gonna be able to find your way back okay, Miss Night Vision?" Silence was the only reply that came from the woods. "Honey, are you okay?" I called, a little louder, sweeping the trees with the flashlight now. I slipped on my shoes and walked in the direction I thought I had heard her walking. After searching the perimeter of the camp and turning up nothing, I knew something was terribly, horribly wrong. Something had happened to my Jessica. "Jessica!" I ran pell-mell through the forest, every tree feeling like a predator watching and waiting. The wind picked up again and gave the leaves voices once again. "Jessica!" My voice seemed to only go a few feet before becoming silent, swallowed by the trees. I ran into the trees, on and on, ears straining for any hint of sound from my beloved wife, running into the night. Some 2 days later, a search and rescue copter found me deep in the forest. I must have been quite a sight. I was ragged and unkempt, my hands marked with blood from hostile thorns and rocks on my journey. My voice was hoarse from yelling, but I still had to ask the question closest to my heart. Have you found my wife?" Their downcast eyes told me all I needed to know. They had not found her. I sobbed bitterly and said no more. Dead. She was either dying or dead, and we could do nothing for her. The reassurances that they would keep looking for a full week, that they would do their damnedest to find her, fell on deaf ears. I knew the chances that they'd find her after they'd already searched for 2 days. It was impossible. That was the moment that I lost her. A cold breeze brought me back to the metal bench at the bus stop. I rubbed my hands together to warm my chilled fingers. I hadn't even noticed that they had gone numb. So cold, inside and out. It had been just over 3 months since her disappearance into the woods. And there hadn't been an hour since I had not thought of her. I had grown up religious, so I hadn't turned to a bottle. I became a workaholic instead, taking every extra hour I could. I still couldn't forget her, and the aching numbness within, it wouldn't warm back up as much as my fingers would. A strange growing awareness bled into my reverie that something was different here, at the city bus stop. I realized that the crickets had gone quiet, but there was something else filling the silence. Something out of place. Leaves, rustling in the wind. I felt a chill run down my spine as my skin erupted with goosebumps. My thoughts raced. There aren't any trees nearby. Where's that sound coming from? The noise felt like a warning. Some deep part of me understood that I was in danger. I was on high alert, just like the night in the woods. I looked frantically all around and saw a dark shape in the alleyway just behind me. It seemed to be coming closer to me, and the silhouette of a woman becoming clearer and clearer. I couldn't move. I was frozen in place. The woman was walking strangely, lopsided one way, then the other. Not drunk, but plain unnatural. She was rocking from one side to the other like a ship in a storm, somehow never falling over. The figure stopped at the edge of the lamp's light, face barely illuminated. Jessica. Her skin looked dirty and molted, and the leaves trembled in her dark hair. And her expression, even now my heart clenches recalling it. Wide staring eyes, teeth bared in a smiling grimace, frozen stillness, like it had been carefully arranged and then fixed in place. Jessica, I breathed, a hand extended into the light, caked with dry mud. Still, she did not speak. What happened to you? She tilted her head to the side, seemingly curious. No one survives the woods for that long, they told me. Wrong, she rasped. She lurched a step into the light, hand extending closer to me. I felt my heart stop cold. Crimson ropes encircled her wrists and neck. This wasn't her, at least, not her doing. She had been made into a grotesque puppet, moved about by ropes. No, sinews that seemed to sink into her skin. Another step, and I still couldn't move. She was so close. I could have reached out and touched her. Another second, and her arms encircled my shoulders, and she spoke just 2 words into my ear. Come, love. A rasping breath. Be with me. I struggled to escape, but the tendrils kept her arms wrapped tight. No! I screamed. The tendrils had begun to work their way down and under my skin. Suddenly, headlights shone in the distance. The wind picked up, sending leaves flying every which way, into my eyes and face, when suddenly... gone. She was just gone. The bus pulled up, and I rushed to get on, nearly dropping my bus pass as I clambered aboard. The driver eyed me, likely assuming I was a drug addict tweaking out, but I didn't care. I was safe. The feeling began to return to my tingling fingers and toes. I looked back out the window and saw nothing at the bus stop. Nothing but leaves. Leaves from the forest.